Okay, so this is the third tutorial on how to set up a Google form and a Google Sheet for expectation-based assessment. In the last tutorial, we finished up setting up our form. And so you should have a form that looks like this. Student names, assessment types, and then all of your learning goals separated by unit and by overall expectation. If you click this eyeball up here, you get a nice preview of your form. And so here it is. You can see that those titles that we add really nice banners separating out your unit. So it makes it really easy to find the learning goal you're looking for if you include those banners. So what we need to do now is link our form to our sheet. So in our first tutorial, we started our sheet and we've got that ready with our learning goals. It's all set up. And then we have our form here. So to do that, you need to go into responses and you'll have 0 responses right now, but you're going to click the little green create spreadsheet. And you're going to select an existing spreadsheet because you have a spreadsheet waiting to use. So the beauty is sometimes Google Drive puts the one you've used most recently here. Sometimes it doesn't. So you might have to do a little search for your spreadsheet. I called mine Stevenson expectation-based assessment. So there it is right there. And it's actually going to open up the sheet in a tab. And you can see it's working, it's working, it's working. So now we have a new tab at the bottom of your spreadsheet called Form Responses 1. If you right-click this, you're going to rename it. And we renamed ours Input. So now your form with your learning goals is linked to your sheet. So we need to do a practice now to make sure that things are going to line up nicely. So you can go back to the eyeball and preview your form. I just like to click one student. I'm going to click something in assessment type because I want to. I'm going to click the first one of each unit, each overall expectation out of 5. And it doesn't really matter what data you send. We're going to delete this later, but we're just doing it to make sure that our form and our sheet are set up properly. So the learning goals are lined up and should work. So scrolling down, F4, is it F4? Yeah. Okay, and then I always click the last one, so F9. And then I'm going to click Submit. So it's going to submit. It gives you this option to submit another response in your form, but in your sheet, you're now going to see that you have this entry from your form in your input. And we now want to see, we want to tell the sheet to pull every time we see student 1's name here to their tab. So right now it's not pulling student 1's information. What we have to do is click this box that says reference, and we have all the coding in there for you. You just have to change one thing. You have to come up here to where it says input. You have to say, literally override it by saying input, and it should work. So the reason it doesn't work with the input in there as a placeholder is because the tab didn't exist when we made it. So you just have to copy out input and really write in input exclamation point. And there has to be an exclamation point there. So really make sure that's what it says. And then everything else should be perfect. It's just going to say where B contains student 1. And you can see now that information we sent for student 1 is lining up. Here it is. So we clicked the beginning of every overall expectation. And so far, it looks like they're right. So what this means is that your form and your sheet are perfectly matched. Now that we have this working, we know that the form and the sheet are perfectly matched. You are going to do two things. So the two things that we have to do, we know this tab is perfectly pulling. Your sheet is great. And what you want to do is duplicate this tab for all of your students. So you're just going to right click. You're going to duplicate, and then you're going to click it again, and you're going to rename it. And I'm going to rename this one student 2. And then I'm going to copy it again, duplicate it, rename it student 3. I'm going to do 4 students, but you are going to create 30 tabs. It seems a little ridiculous, but or monotonous to do this, but we're going to finish off by doing a little bit more coding to the sheet that will make it less work for you down the road. So all you have to do, you only have to make these 30 tabs once. And then when you have a class, you rename them the student's name. So I'm going to stop at 4 tabs, but for your template, you are going to make 30 tabs. The other thing you have to do is go into the class tab, and you want to tell the tab to pull the learning goal information from student 1. So right now, if I put my cursor in this box right here that's highlighted in blue under A1, it is saying that it is pulling information from student 1 sheet. That's what this means. This part right here says you are taking information from tab student 1 and exclamation point cell D1. So that means right now that should look like D1 student 1. It's obviously not working. So we're going to come back here and we're going to see if we can make that work. So the other thing you can do is you can actually put that in and then go to the students tab and click it. Okay, so if it's not pulling like it should, you're going to put the cursor in the box right here, and you're going to go equals colon student 1 colon exclamation point capital D1, and see how it's changed to orange. That means it's a valid formula, and hit enter. So you can see now that the average for learning goal D1 has been pulled to the class tab. So now you need to put your cursor back in that box, and you're going to grab the little blue square here, and you're going to drag it all the way across your learning goals like this. And now every single average you have for that student is going to appear. So you have to go through this and do it for all of your students. You're going to do it for all 30 tabs. And the reason you're going to do it for all 30 tabs is because you don't have to ever do this again. Even when you rename your tab, the student's name, so you change student 1 to like Bob, the coding on this class tab is going to stay here. So it will still continue to pull that student's information. So I only have 4 students. So I'm going to do this for my 4 students. I'm going to change the kids' names, and I'm going to go student 3, comma, exclamation point, D1, and there it is. It is pulling all of the information. You just have to grab that box, and you have to pull it across all the way. And I'm going to do it one more time for student number 4. And then you're done setting up this section of the sheet. In the next tutorial, I will go through a couple odds and ends things with you.